Welcome back to the channel, Crypto Trend Trader, taking a look at Bitcoin. But before we get started, I'd like to remind you this is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. These markets are extremely volatile, so please do your own research and trade responsibly. So we had the Bitcoin. We're on the 4 hour now. I'm going to switch over to the daily. All right, so essentially what's going on here is basically had our push up here and essentially getting rejected now by the 528, which is what we had talked about. As soon as we got the close above the 10 and then we were able to get the push up above the 21, we were essentially looking for rejection after we took out the parabolic SAR. And based on what's happening now, we closed below the 528 and we're now back above the 21, consolidating. And what it looks like is getting ready to happen is it looks like we just got rejected and we're getting ready to sell off. And this is exactly what we were talking about. If you take into account, I'm going to turn off the prophecy real quick just to get a better look. But this is exactly what we were talking about. We essentially were taking our swing from our position right here, the previous swing high at 78.61, from our low point that we put in down here at 64.43. And if you look at the exact retracement that we got from high to low, we got an 88.6 retracement to the T of the Fibonacci of that move. As soon as we sold off, we immediately came down straight to the 618 where we're consolidating. I would expect us to get another move up to the upside where we get rejected and move back to the downside. Now, just because we moved up to the 886 and sold off doesn't mean that it's impossible to put in a new high here. But typically with a situation like this, when you get a strong rejection after a sell-off at a key fib level like that, essentially all it is the market, basically like a dead cat bounce. I mean, all it is essentially just a move based on like us selling off. So, we essentially got a reaction rally back to the upside. And, people took the opportunity of that movement to the upside to essentially sell more of the asset. And, price was not able to maintain. So, we're selling off now. And what I would expect to happen is we'll get another interaction on this white long-term trend line right here. And then if we can maintain it for long enough, we'll get a push up to probably this 8600 range. And if we don't maintain it, I would expect us to sell off. And if we do lose this white long-term trend line on any kind of substantial time frame, I would expect capitulation to take place. Now, I don't necessarily think that we're going to break out of this descending triangle, but I would expect us to continue selling off to the downside, potentially put in a new low, but stay inside this range until we don't. And I think at this point in time, just like we spoke about, it's most likely situation is that we could see move essentially sometime in the beginning, mid-February. But at this point in time, I wouldn't expect us to be breaking out of this range anytime soon. And you'll also notice that this orange long-term trend line that a lot of people are using from the very tip top up here and kind of coming down that we had been interacting with, when we finally got that push above it and closed, and then we found that support, sold back off, and now here we are. We're just getting rejected by it again. So to me, all this looks like is just more of the same. And now it looks, it looks great and everything when you get this little move and you get a piece of that like 19%. That's great and everything, but all that is just coming back off this previous top. So I mean, we sold off 38% and we bounced back 19%. So in the end, we're still down 19% from this swing right here. So what I would expect to happen is just more continuation. Even if we found strength here and consolidated and we're able to move to the upside, I just wouldn't expect anything to change in this market until we see some clear indications, that we've broken this trend and that we're essentially going to start moving directionally rather than just continuation or consolidation to the downside. But at this point in time, coming from the 886, it's just like we say, we typically come down 2 fib levels. So you're going to come down to the 618, get a reaction here. So do I think we'll push back up? Yeah, there's definitely a possibility we'll push back up. I think we'll put in another lower high, and then I think we'll continue to sell back off, potentially to lower prices. If we could have consolidated here and held this low and essentially like double bottomed, I could see some potential for a reversal. But typically in a situation like this, you're selling off powerfully, you get a reaction rally up, you sell back off to a lower low, and then you get a reaction rally back up, and we couldn't even take out the high of this previous reaction rally. So it's very unlikely to me that we're going to all of a sudden just pop up here. If we took out that high, I would get bullish for a move up to the top of the range. But as long as we can't take out our previous swing high that we're taking our fib swing off of, there's no reason for me to think that this thing's going to move to the upside. There's no reason to think that we should get bullish on this. And matter of fact, if we just turn off everything and just take a look at the indicators here, you'll see Just like we were talking about with the jewel thief, we got that stab down here, and as soon as we got that powerful move, that powerful stab down here, in the soft buy accumulation zone, you could have took that long out of here. But again, it wasn't the best signal because we didn't get the hard buy signal. We didn't get the stab before the low. I like to see the knife come down prior to the blue peeking out down here. So I would have liked to see the red before the blue comes down to a new low. And then again, the exact same thing happened that we were talking about with the TJD TD MACD. We essentially came up, got the green histogram above the red line, but now if we can't maintain above the red line here, the slope is just going to stay red and the histogram is going to sell back off to the downside. And if we switch on over to the weekly time frame, you'll see it looks exactly like we talked about. We got the pop back up to the resistance level, we test the breakdown point, and now we failed to rally above it, so what I would expect is continuation to the downside. We essentially had that support resistance flip that we had spoke about prior to it happening, and it's played out exactly. We got the move exactly up to the point that we were looking for, and now again what I would expect to happen is after that bullish candle and then a sell-off at a lower high, I would expect continuation. And if we close anywhere below 68.62, that to me is confirmation, on a weekly chart that we're likely going to be headed down to substantially lower prices. And at this point in time, next main target is that $6,000 price range, 6,100, somewhere in that range. So there we have it. I'm not trying to be all bearish, but I just want to be a realist here as we come up on the Christmas holidays and everything. A lot of people are occupied, with their families and spending time, and it's important to take a little time away from the charts and enjoy life. There's always going to be another move to happen, so don't get caught up in it and miss out on key times with friends and family that you may potentially regret in the future, because there's always going to be another move, guys, and the next one's going to be big, and if you're listening to this, I guarantee you're going to get in on it. So that's Crypto Trend Trader, a little bit of daily weekly Bitcoin technical analysis, and I'm signing off.